I'm Andrew Byrne from NMP, and we are here at the Mohegan Sun at the New England Mortgage Expo. It's so great to be back here, and it's so great to be here with a longtime friend of mine, and someone actually I've known actually back when my dad had a mortgage broker shop, Peter Micera, who's now Senior Vice President of Black Knight Financial Services, the leader actually, when it comes to technology and all things actually related to technologies for mortgage companies. But first we're going to take a little stroll down memory lane. We're going to talk about actually the system that you put in is Center Island Funding, my dad's mortgage brokerage company. Back it was a land system, which that was mind blowing back then.
Yep.
Mortgage software. So tell us actually about that. It was back then. It was Eastern Software. Tell us about that. And then we're going to fast forward and talk about the awesome stuff you're doing today for the lenders.
Yeah, it was Eastern Software. It was in the late 80s, so PCs were really still relatively new with hard drives. And a 20 megabyte hard drive was a massive system. And at that time we came out with a LAN system that was interconnected by cables, not Ethernet. It was kind of a proprietary system. And Joel, your father, visionary that he is, invested in it and ran his company, literally one of the first, if not one of the only mortgage brokers at the time that was able to integrate workflow from processing through underwriting.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic, yeah.
And I can't imagine what this process was like before actually there was any technology. That's mind blowing. So now here we are today. Actually, we fast forward. And you guys power some of the biggest lenders out there, some of the not so biggest lenders that are just kicking butt out there. Some great fintech players. So talk to us about actually the technology solutions that you guys provide today.
Sure. We actually provide what we call the Empower ecosystem. So it's really, the LOS is at the core, but there's so much that's associated with it. So we have our own point of sale solution, our own lender digital solution. So a lender can take an application, check status, lock a loan on their phone, on their tablet, on the go from wherever they want to be. All of that gets stored directly to the LOS. So it's not like a lot of other point of sale solutions that are separate databases and then you have to integrate to them. Literally from the moment the borrower enters their name, it's all being entered directly into Empower. So there's no synchronization that needs to happen. We also have, and we've made several acquisitions over the past several years. So we acquired Motivity, which was the industry's leading business intelligence solution, and that's seamlessly integrated into Empower. We acquired Ernst, which gives us really the best fee solution out there. So for a lender, especially a lender dealing in multiple states where you're not necessarily familiar with all the fees and so on, the fees just automatically upload into the system. The system will see if something changes, you change a loan amount or an appraised value, it'll go out and get updated fees, so the user doesn't even have to do anything.
That's
so
great.
It's totally automated. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, to your point, actually, having all these things, in one environment where you're not actually dealing with islands of data, where basically when one thing breaks, everyone blames everyone else, right?
Exactly.
You have one solution. So I have a problem with our industry. We celebrate now a 14-day close. Now keep in mind, of course, we have some regulatory things but the fact is, and you guys have the access to data, what do you think it'll take for us to get to a point where we can do, and at least actually from a decision-making, standpoint, from being able to say, you are ready to close, because we already know how much they make. We already know how much they have in the bank. We already know what the collateral is worth. Mm-hmm. We have all the things. We already know if they're paying their bills or not paying their bills on time. So what do you think it's going to take for us as an industry, putting the regulatory constraints aside, to get to an instantaneous close or an instantaneous decision?
I think there's two things that affect that, or actually three as I think about it. One is the appraisal. So if we can get to a point where we can go to an AVM model that's automated as opposed to requiring somebody to physically be on site and go take a look at it. I think that from a time perspective, that's a big issue.
Yeah.
Income, if it's straight, if it's W-2, 1040 easy, that's easy to do. If it's complex income and we have to get information on the collateral to take a look at their K1s and so on, that becomes a bit more time intense.
Yeah.
And then it's really the borrower's ability to provide all the necessary data. Now, as we continue to progress, the borrower is providing less and less because we're able to go reach out and get it.
Yes.
In many instances. But, still, that's kind of a New York mindset, right? As you get into, a more rural area, you can't go to the work number and validate somebody's employment. You kind of have to do that the old-fashioned way. So, I think for certain areas you're going to see, and certain borrowers that are plain vanilla, you're going to be able to see an almost instantaneous decision at some point. But, as you move out of the centralized areas, that may take a little longer.
Some point. So would you say, are we like a year, 5 years? I'm just curious. And listen, no one's listening, no one's watching this. There's no camera recording. Well, I'm not going to actually ask you this again. Actually, when I see you at the next conference and say, hey, remember we said this?
Right.
But taking that aside, when do you think actually we can? Are we actually months, years, a decade away from actually having that ability to have a instantaneous decision?
It's really hard to tell. I would tend to think that by the end of this decade, that could be a reality. But there's a lot of things that need to fall into place for that to happen.
Yeah. 100%. Listen, fortunately, one of the things that was good about COVID is we start to become a lot more actually dependent on alternative evaluation models. So it's one good thing that's come out, and so wonderful. So listen, Peter, thank you for all you've done for this industry, for what you did for my dad's mortgage brokerage back actually in the 80s, and it's been great to see actually your just continued rise and success as you've helped lenders grow with some of the best technology out there.
Fantastic, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter. And I'm Andrew Berman, Brand MP. Thank you for watching.